Greetings, everyone. Welcome to the Change of Shift podcast, where nursing meets the internet. I am your host, Sean. This is a podcast where we solve problems, review topics, and share actionable information that encompass the professional and personal lives of healthcare professionals and nurses. Thanks for joining us. Just a quick shout out, guys. The remainder of this podcast is going to have a little bit of reverb and echoing, and I sincerely apologize ahead of time. Working through some adjustments with some new software, so hang in there. As always, we start our episode off with a previous episode recap. Can you believe it? This is episode 19. Small pause there. Amazing. 19 episodes in. And we just started this podcast 2 months ago? 2 months-ish. Started with an idea. Can thank the Blab IM platform for birthing this baby. Normally, our podcast is hosted by myself and my co-host, Emily. Emily has been busy. Life has thrown her a couple curveballs, and I believe she's pursuing some new professional opportunities, so can you blame her? We will continue on. So, previous episode, episode 18, I talked about how some of us work on the holidays. Some of us, meaning myself, and any other healthcare professional out there. But this can apply to just about every service person out there. Everything from our police force, firemen, paramedics, our military men and women. Unfortunately, I was also corrected on my Facebook fan page that just about everybody these days is working the holiday. Unfortunately, those of us who signed up for the service profession didn't have much choice in the matter because the ill do not take the holidays off. So, last week's episode was about how service jobs don't take holidays, that we don't have the holiday special. Talked a little bit about how great the potluck dinners are, depending on where you work. For me, it's always the hospital, so potluck dinners at the hospital have always been fruitful. Went through a couple suggestions to avoid the bulge when you're eating during the holidays. And then, of course, had to round the episode out with things to be thankful for, and I talked about 3 things that we're thankful for. If you missed the episode, or if this is your first time visiting us, first of all, thanks for hanging out. You can check out our previous episode on any of our podcatchers in iTunes, Stitcher. We're all over the place, gang. I'm pretty sure if you Google us, you can find us. At the very least, you can check us out on thechangeofshift.com, and the previous episode will be there for you to listen and view. Changing things up a bit, instead of using the Blab IM platform, I'm going to do the traditional podcasting habit of just doing some audio for a little while here and see how it goes. So, for those of you who are used to watching these videos, I apologize. I think we're going to be slowly but surely stepping away from the Blab IM platform. Still going to utilize it for all of our interviews, which I have a couple interviews coming up. Just haven't revealed them yet. But for the most part, I think we're going to start using just audio files. Everyone, our target audience, everyone out there in the healthcare world and my fellow nursing brothers and sisters, I would love for you to listen to our podcast on your way to work or on your way home. I like to think of it as coming or going from your change of shift. How about you download us and press play? All right. Today's topic, 4 ways nurses can overcome the imposter syndrome. Once again, 4 ways nurses can overcome the imposter syndrome. I'm pretty sure you're wondering, what in the world is the imposter syndrome? Well, allow me to educate you. The imposter syndrome is it's a term that was coined back in the 70s by psychologists and researchers, and it basically describes anyone who's unable to internalize their accomplishments. And this is despite the external validation and evidence of their competence. Those exhibiting this syndrome remain convinced that they're frauds, that they're fakes, and they don't deserve the success that they have achieved. Even after they have proof of their success, they dismiss it as, I got lucky, just have been good timing, or I must have deceived someone, or I tricked someone into thinking they knew what I was doing. Ironically, and I'm reading this from Wikipedia, is that apparently imposter syndrome is very common amongst high-achieving women. Although, of course, it's common in both genders, it seems to be more prevalent with high-achieving women. And I don't know about you, but I find the irony in that, seeing as I am working in a profession that is predominantly women. Lo and behold, I can't say I did that on purpose. So, imposter syndrome. I think this applies so well to the profession of nursing. You could apply this to healthcare, but I'm going to talk about nursing. It's amazing how we as nurses, and I'm specifically referring to nurse graduates, just graduated, just passed their boards, maybe not even passed their boards, just graduated and starting their job. And they're unable to accept that they've done it, that nursing school wasn't enough. They don't know enough. Despite the fact that they have that degree, may or may not have the piece of paper yet, despite the fact that they have their certification, they have their license, they still believe that they're frauds and they're faking it, that they just got lucky, that everyone's going to figure them out the minute they go on to the nursing floors, because we all know that nursing school is nothing like the real world. So, first of all, let me start off by saying this. You are not alone. We have all felt the same way. Although, maybe my opinion is not enough. So, it seems that researchers out there also feel that anyone that experiences or anyone that succumbs to this imposter syndrome, it seems to be rampant amongst smart people. That at some point during our careers, maybe even more than once, that you'll look at your peers and you'll think to yourself, I'm not as good as they are. I'm not cut out for this. Does that sound familiar? Any nursing students out there that just started? Heck, any nurse out there who's been doing this for a hot minute. Does this sound familiar? It's funny. Many of the experts are suggesting that you listen to that voice inside of your head telling you you're not good enough. But you need to understand where it's coming from. That you need to be aware that, failing to recognize your own accomplishments, you're spending too much time overemphasizing others' accomplishments instead of recognizing your own. I'd like to think that we all, as nurses, have to go through this. So I thought, first of all, I think every nurse out there has experienced this syndrome, this term, this feeling like a fraud or feeling like a fake or feeling like, oh my God, they're going to figure out I don't know what I'm doing. So first and foremost, I think every nurse out there has experienced the imposter syndrome at some point during their career. whether that's in your first job or your most recent job. And I thought it would be nice if we talk about 4 ways. I come up with 4. I think there's a gazillion of them out there. But here's just 4 quick ways, tips, suggestions, actionable content of ways that you can overcome this feeling of feeling like a fraud. So, 4 ways. The first one is The first one is something that I've spoken about before, and it comes down to faking it until you make it. And what that means is you want to give everyone else the perception that you know what you're doing. As long as you're not causing any harm, you're not breaking any laws, you're working within the confines of your scope of practice, that you should fake it until you make it. You definitely don't want to fake anything that causes undue stress or harm to anybody. But something as simple as faking confidence, being confident in your abilities, that's what I'm talking about. Faking it until you make it. You keep trying until you get it right. You keep trying until you become confident in that skill or in that position. And ultimately, we all started there. We all started scared out of our wits, wondering when the jig is up, when they were going to say, sorry, you know what, you really don't know what you're doing, we're just going to have to excuse you. So, first tip, fake it till you make it. Second tip, focus on what you actually bring to the table. Focus on what you're good at. Focus on what you know. Don't focus on what you don't know. Don't focus on what you still have to learn. Because the longer you do this job, the more you're going to realize you're never going to know it all. Focus on how you can better yourself and better the team that you're playing on, the medical team that you're a part of. Focus on the positive. The third is own your success. You've earned your place. Now, let's not take it to an extreme case of overconfidence, but you need to own your success. You need to brag about the fact that you graduated with your degree, that you actually passed your boards. Because ultimately, not everybody can do this job. So welcome to the elite club. And finally, my last tip to overcome the imposter syndrome is lay it all out on the table. Be honest with yourself and be honest with those around you. You're not going to be right every time. And being wrong doesn't make you a fake. It doesn't make you any less qualified. All it simply makes you is a lifelong learner. Now, I've said it before and I'll say it again, that you make a mistake once, then you learn from it. You don't make the mistake a second time. Everybody makes mistakes. I still make them every day. But you learn from them. And you better yourself and you better the care that you provide. But don't lie your way through it. Lay it out on the table with your preceptor, with your unit director, with your coworkers. I'm pretty sure you may or may not know somebody. You could be the brand new nurse on the unit. So we all end up befriending certain coworkers and getting along with, and we seem to click with certain nurses. So share those feelings with those individuals that you feel comfortable with. Put it out there, because that's the only way it's only going to get better. So there you go. 4 tips, 4 ways that nurses can overcome the imposter syndrome. Once again, you're listening to the Change of Shift podcast, where nursing meets the internet. We solve problems, review topics, and share actionable information that encompass the professional and personal lives of healthcare professionals and nurses. You have taking the time out of your day to listen to my voice, and I greatly appreciate it. If you like what you heard today, you think you could tell somebody? Anyone. Coworker. If you're on any of the social sites, send out a quick shout out, a quick update status that you enjoyed the show, that you enjoyed this episode. You can always find us out on the web, thechangeofshift.com. We're out on every podcatcher available. We're out there on iTunes, Stitcher, Spreaker, SoundCloud, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. While we're out there on all the social media sites, I am going to admit to you up front that we're probably going to be making some changes to the social media presence of this particular podcast. We ran out of the gates full force, thinking that we needed to cover all our bases, and I think we spread ourselves a little thin. So if you like us, you feel like sharing our podcast with others, any healthcare professional or nurse out there, just have them stop by thechangeofshift.com. They can find everything else through our website. The biggest and most popular is iTunes. As always, I thank you for visiting us, taking the time out of your day to listen to us. If you feel that we're worthwhile, maybe you could download us out on whatever podcatcher program you use. Maybe even send us a rating or a review. Let us know how we're doing. Let us know what you want to hear. This podcast is for you the healthcare professional, and you, the nurse. How can we help you? Thanks again for joining us. And as always, be sure to check your own pulse first.